Okay, guys, so what you see there is all of my Sonic the Hedgehog Archie comic book issues. Most of them I've subscribed to. Some of them are the super specials as well. And then along with it at the bottom, you could see a bunch of the trade paperbacks and everything, collectible collections that they put out and everything, the archives, including some up here as well. And then on the bottom over here behind the MLP retro San Diego Comic Con thing for the 80s that they did, we have the trade paperbacks that Frank Hill gave me. And the reason I bring all this up is because I want to kind of, follow up on something I said in Topics on My Mind a couple of days ago, where I asked the question of should IDW Comics do the same thing that they did with the TMNT comics, which you saw, on the top there, underneath my Optimus Prime. Should IDW Comics do the same thing they did with the Archie TMNT Adventures, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Adventure comics? Should they do the same thing for the Archie Sonic, comic book series, and that's republish the issues in trade paperback form? Now, to me, as I mentioned in that video, and I stick by this, I think it would be a great move for them to do. I think it would be a great, it would be a great move is what I'm trying to say, but it would also be a good financial move for them in the long run, because there's a lot of people that are, kind of talking about the fact that financially IDW is not in the best of places right now, that, they're burning money, that they're trying to expand into, avenues they don't need to expand into, stuff like that. But to me, if they were to do something like this, if they were to take those issues that I have, and that's just issues 70, and that's basically, get this, those are issues specifically because, Archie Comics for a time was doing these collections, if you will. They were taking up after the initial year, I should say, of the issues coming out. They would package all the issues of that year together in a collection set, in a kind of a collections package for people to buy, for people to go to the website and buy and have it mailed to them. And that's what I did. So essentially what you have there, besides some individual issues like issue 20, issue 29, I believe, where Sally gets initially roboticized, which is kind of ironic, seeing as though issue 29, I think, of the Knuckles comics, where she crossed over there with him. But anyway, I have those issues as well as some issues that came out earlier. But I have basically almost the entire run of the Archie books, not including the entire Knuckles collection, if you will. I mean, I do have some individual issues, like I say, the one with Sally crossing over, and then the 3-part story arc they did with, him and Julie Sue finally becoming an item, which was one of the more critically praised stories that they did. But anyway, long story short, I have a majority of the series, with the exception of not having every Knuckles issue, not having every Universe issue, stuff like that. But what I have, obviously in continuity plays a role in some capacity, is what I'm trying to say. But I do, thanks to the likes of Frank Hill, have the trade paperbacks that make up for that, and so I can catch up on the stories from that particular area, from that particular time frame. But what I'm trying to get at, basically, to get back on topic here, is when you take all of that into consideration, I think it would be a great move by IDW Comics to work something out, because like I said in the live stream, whether you believe Ken Penders or you don't, it sounds like he's willing to do business now. He's willing to allow his characters to be utilized in some shape, form, or fashion, in other Sonic media, including potentially the IDW books. So like I said, whether you believe him or you don't, it is kind of cool to hear that he's willing to, work something out with people in the long run. But even with all that said, would IDW take advantage of it? Well, again, like I said, I think they should, because it would sell great for them. I mean, take a look at how well, them releasing the Archie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Adventure issues in trade paperbacks has been. Look how successful that's been. They were able to release in trade paperback form the entire series. The entire series. Now I have a majority of the trade paperbacks I have are during what is dubbed the Ninjara era. When they had Ninjara, Yumiko, Raphael's girlfriend as part of the team. That's initially what I have right now. I don't have them all just yet, but that's initially what I have. But obviously, like I said, they sold very well, that they were able to continuously, put out new volumes almost twice a year. And speaking of Ninjara, she kind of falls under that category of, let's say, Ken Penders' characters, like Julie Sue, Jeffrey, Linda, Safon, if you will. She falls under that same, Ninjara falls under that same kind of category because she was created by two different guys that, because they owned the character, were able to take her over to other independent comics after she was, pretty much written out of the TMNT series. And one of those was Furlough, which is a short-lived comic series, mostly featuring anthropomorphic furry characters, and more like at the older adult audience, in a way. But yeah, she was moved over because they owned the character. They were able to move her over there. They were able to take her to different places like Furlough. But apparently they were able to work out some kind of deal that would allow them allow IDW to have her included in the trade paperbacks. And I'm sure Nickelodeon had something to do with that as well, but still, IDW obviously was able to work something out. And if they're willing to work something out with the people that originally created Ninjara and made her part of the TMNT adventure book, then I don't see there being a problem with them working out something with Ken Penders, especially if he's coming out and said, hey, I'm willing to work with you guys now to allow my characters to be utilized. Then I think obviously this is the best timing for this to happen. If you're IDW and you want to basically rebuild, financially your company, especially from a comic book perspective, then to me, this is the best avenue, to go in. This is, to me, the best avenue for you to go in, if you're IDW. To me, it's a win-win no matter what. And when you think about it, they were able to do all of the issues of, TMNT Adventures in trade paperback form, which I think went for about 72, 73 issues. So if they're able to do that, and then you add on the fact from a main comic book perspective that you have, Sonic the Hedgehog at 292, 293 almost, basically 221 issues more. And then you combine that with, the 48-page specials. You combine that with the Sonic Universe books. You combine that with the Princess Sally and Tails miniseries books. You combine that with the initial Knuckles miniseries books and the Knuckles series. I think you got a gold mine on your hand. A gold mine on your hands is what I'm trying to say. And to me, they wouldn't really have to put too much work into it. All they would have to do is work out a deal on both ends of the spectrum, Archie and Ken, if you will. And basically, all they would have to do is take what was already released in trade paperback form, if you will, and go from there. That's all they would have to do. And when I'm talking about trade paperback form, I'm talking the likes of the archives. All they'd have to do is take the archives, basically enlarge the imagery, if you will, from the archives and go from there. The archives have been, went for, quite some time. They were going all the way up to almost a soft retcon reboot from what I could tell. When you look here, this is some of the archives right here, right? These are the Knuckles ones, I think. Yeah, these are more of the Knuckles ones up here. But then, when you look down here, that's a lot of the archives right there. And to me, and I do apologize if you got any zoom up in my face a lot closer than you should have.